Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or whatever it is right now, ladies and gentlemen. It's the new NSL live talk for sure. But it's we have had a lot of live talks, really livelies recently, but now we are back on the computer because Mr. Gary Smith on the top left, he is far away from Mr. Kirk Verner there on the bottom, and I'm at a different location as well, all of us with one purpose. We are talking and we are thinking of the upcoming indoor world championship. But that is also going to happen at a totally different location in Slovakia. So we are not there yet, none of us, but hopefully I will be there at least. Gary, it sounded like you are not going to make it to the event.
No, I mean, I'm in a bit of a logistic thing with the new Qatar group that we have a camp starting as the meet finishes, and I have to go to Qatar. So basically, I was hoping to be there for the first 2 days of the meet, but it looks like I cannot even make the first day. I have to leave. So it's almost a waste of time for me just to arrive and see the start and leave. I'm trying to see if I can change it, but I can understand that I have to be with the team that I'm working with, in Qatar, and they're going on a big camp to Madrid is the next thing for them, and a jumping camp. So I'm a bit bummed about it because it's exciting. I've been obviously following the NSL and watching all the progress with the teams. But so yeah, unfortunately, I still hope to be there, but it looks slimmer and slimmer by the day right now.
And Kirk, you seem to be in a similar situation. You can't make it, but for similar reason too. You have to cover up some
Yeah,
open. Explain that to us, please.
yeah. I had originally, last year planned to go to this meet, but um, just logistically, the same as Gary, I've got so much stuff going on at XP that and as well, I'm having to cover for some things that Gina had. So I will be here watching online. Really excited about it to happen, but I really wish I was there, but I'm going to be home.
Yeah, you mentioned Dina, so that she is doing so many things there at
Yeah.
Kirk, organizing and leagues and indoor cloudic and coaching and all kind of stuff. Unbelievable. And now she also committed to XPG4 after um, Bannon didn't continue with the team and she's back in it. So that on top of all of that, so somebody has
Yeah.
to compensate there, right? And you are the right person for that. Okay. Well, then let's maybe we should begin with what we can, since we cannot be there all together and have coaches corner and all that. At least we can do a good little preview here, and we will hopefully do more of that. And then during the meet, maybe we can also, have a meeting like this end of the day. Who knows? We'll see about this. But the preview we can do, and it's exciting, right? So if we
Yeah.
start with four-way women, Kirk, you are directly involved. I mean, indirectly involved there. Gina is competing, obviously. What do you see there? Let's take a quick look here at the. There is Let me share that screen here, because we had. I have some power rankings out there. This is for four-way open. Here's the four-way women leaderboard with the teams who will be there. So now you guys, you can tear it up and you can tell me, hey, what you're expecting there, what the NSL news has posted is totally wrong. It will all be totally different.
Yeah, of course. I've been watching all of the girls' stuff. Of course, Nicholas is coaching them, and they look fantastic. And then, of course, I watched NFTO's fantastic performance at Wemby last weekend, and they look fantastic as well. I really haven't seen the French women in there. Haven't seen any videos, but they're always super strong. So, I mean, like almost every world meet, indoor and outdoor, the women's event is going to be very, very exciting, I think.
That's how it looks like. Gary, what do you see?
Yeah, I have to be honest. I'm happy to hear that the US girls are going good. I mean, I'm sure Gina going into the group has added so much to them, because I would have counted them a little bit out. But so if Gina's in there and Kirk, I mean, you can trust his word on it. If he says they're going great, then for sure, then they're in it. But I would have gone. I would have taken a gamble on the most trained team, maybe NFTO, although they have got a new member. And not to outrate those Cubs. Those Cubs are super fast, and the French, yes, they've got the experience back in, but how much have they trained? That would be my question. So like Kirk says, I think it's going to be those top four would be I mean, the guesses. And I mean, if I had to rank them, I would go. I mean, just on the top of my head, I would go NFTO for their for their time together. I know, even though there's one change, and then either the French, the US, and the Cubs all fighting for it. But I have to be honest, I think it's going to be so tight. You could go there wanting to come first, and you could come fourth out of those four.
Yeah.
Interesting. So there would be a little adjustment that the NFTO seem to be, so all the four teams in contention for the first. So NFTO seems to be the top favorite, and then the other three teams will chase them, if I understand that correctly.
Yeah, and I mean the Cubs, like Kirk said, we haven't seen the French, so we're just going on that we know that there's phenomenal flyers, the two, Christine and Sophia, but we haven't seen them fly together as a group, and for sure they'll be fast. But eventually, it's over 10 rounds. Will it be clean? I don't know. And the Cubs I haven't seen, but we know they've done a 27 average a year ago, the Cubs. So if everything is good and it was a correct draw, and there wasn't anything made quicker because of a smaller tunnel or whatever, or favored certain blocks, then I mean it's going to be. I think the ladies are going to be pushing 28, 29 averages.
Yeah.
Kirk agrees.
Kirk, yeah, I agree. The NFTO, they just did a 28-8, and they had an all random jump in there.
True.
And I know that the girls are, they're looking to do they've been planning on a 30 average, is what they're shooting for. They have about 10 more hours of training before they leave. So, as we all know, it always turns into, the total 350 seconds, and, what will, how will the teams handle it as they, as it always starts off, who gets out in front, and do they get protective of that lead? And, they're going to all have to stay hungry. They can't look at the scoreboard. They're going to have to go. Each round is its own competition, and trying to squeeze everything out of every single jump. And if they're not, whatever team doesn't do that, they're not going to win. So
that's exciting. You make it really exciting, Kirk. That sounds great. Hey, you mentioned last weekend or something with the NFTO at Wemby. I'm not aware of, was it, which event are you relating to?
They were just out of meet. I guess it was the French Nationals, maybe.
Oh,
okay.
I saw it it was on the Federation's page and Wemby's page, and Qatar was there doing
French 8-way.
Yeah.
French 8-way Nationals, and then they just did a 4-way cup. But there was none of the French teams were not there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
NFTO were there with a complete lineup. Because they had the 4-way indoor, the French 4-way indoor national. It's a little bit before that. I'll have to look that up. So thank you for the information.
Their jumps look really good. I looked at them last night, and they look fantastic, man. They have they're very good stops, and they look great. So
it was a part of the 8-way competition. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, good.
Yeah, and like I said, there was a super set in there. There was an all random jump, which is typical what they do at Wemby. And so, but still, I mean, their jumps. You take that jump out of there, and they're still right out of 27. So they're just great. They look really good. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. Well, let's switch over to the open class leaderboard. which will be a little bit less exciting probably as for the first place. Or do you think that airspeed has a similar position than NFTO in Norway women, or is airspeed even further ahead? Or because on this on the power rankings here, I see airspeed in first place, not tied with anybody or not in competition with anybody. What do you think about the four-way open class? Gary?
If I go, sorry, Kirk. I mean,
No,
if I go, I would just quickly go. I think Arizona airspeed for sure. You have to go with them as favorites. Again, I don't know how much they've trained, but I don't think any airspeed team will go to a meet unprepared. So yes, the French team they strong. They've done 30 hours. Mathieu at the Shamrock was saying he was thinking that they could match airspeed. He was hoping, but I saw their indoor meet that they had, and I know the tunnel was not great for them. That indoor, and I think they did a 28 something, if I'm right. Correct me if I'm wrong. And some of the stuff was quick, but I think airspeed is going to be quicker than that. Airspeed will be more consistent. But we saw what happened a year ago in Charleroi, that French team, but it was not the same team. It was the two guys. So I would have to still go with airspeed and France fast, and then of course Hayabusa. I think I've seen Hayabusa, and I'm going to go and see them for the next 2 days. I'm going to go to Belgium tomorrow morning early. I drive through to do 2 days with them, and they've improved for sure. They've improved, but they're not at that level yet. So the pressure is off on Belgium, but Neil is doing fantastic. If I think of Neil 1 year ago to how he flew in the tunnel to Neil now, it's chalk and cheese. He's way better. He's definitely improved, but they still have work to do. So I don't count them in there, but I think they're trying to win a round or two for sure. So there should be no doubt. And then unfortunately, I think the Tigers are going to be fighting again for fourth. The Tigers will also do some phenomenal flying, but if I go to Kirk's wise words, it's 350 seconds. It's 10 rounds for the Tigers, and I don't think they'll get the first, second, third on 10 rounds.
Kirk?
Yeah, I think airspeed, just from talking with them here and there, that I think they've been training. I agree with Gary. They're going to be prepared, and their confidence is high, and they, the last time I saw them, I talked to Nicholas. He said that they were, training a lot, and of course, this young French team's super exciting. What they are doing in their trajectory is really good, and of course, Hayabusa. I go with what Gary said. He's looking at them, but they're super dangerous as well. And then Qatar coming off a very good meet here with us. They look fantastic. They're moving well as well, and so I look for any of those guys to steal some rounds, but I'd go with airspeed here. But I think we're setting this up for a very exciting meet in Israel in November 24, and I think then it's going to be a totally different ball game, because we're going to be 17 months from now. So
yeah.
So if I understand that correctly, then at least Gary, you would also break them up, not into a kind of a close duel between France and Hayabusa. It looks like you would do 1, 2, 3, 4, more or less better defined than it is on the rankings. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hayabusa is going to try and surprise the French for sure.
Okay.
Will be their thing, but again, I think the French secretly want to surprise, as we've heard from Mathieu, are going to try and surprise airspeed. But I mean, I think Hayabusa lost with about 40 points last year, and for sure, I doubt they're going to lose by 40 points, but they're going to close that gap, because I've seen it, they're flying better than what they were in Charleroi last year. And airspeed, we all know at the top, you can only push that 34, 35 average. How much further can you get unless you get two lucky super sequences? So for sure, Hayabusa has closed the gap on them, but is it sufficient enough to challenge? No, There's no doubt. They know that. And the French is going to be in between. So it's going to be a tight in between, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And Qatar has also done 30, right? Qatar 2 years ago did a 30 average in the tunnel 3 years ago. So again, Qatar could also put it into a 31. So they could be in it, but I don't think they're going 34, 35. And it's going to be one, I think, on a high 34, 35 average. That's where it should be. That's what has been done in the past. And this ASP team will do that. I have no doubt.
Let's what do you think? I mean, I always thought, or I'm thinking still, that the biggest obstacle for the Tigers, who are physically perfectly fit for for any, I mean, they have an advantage, a size advantage in a 14-foot chamber probably, but they have the Ramadan, right? I mean, right now
Yeah.
they go to the meet, so training.
Yeah, they're going to have to. They're going to have to deal with it in their own ways, in their own corners. Like, I mean, funny enough, I went and I watched my son playing indoor soccer here the other day, and they actually stopped as it got dark, and as it got to a certain sunset, they stopped the game 3 minutes before half time because some of the opposition team were obviously in their Ramadan, and they stopped to allow these guys to eat energy bars and drink water and get something. So I will be interested to see, but I think the way that the tunnel meets are generally run, it's not a full day for them. And we all know skydiving, you go in there, it's an intense 35, 40 seconds, you can come out, you can rest, and you can go back in again. And they probably will do four rounds, 2 rounds in a day. So I think they can handle that, if they eat at the correct times and then make sure when they finish, they go rest again. So I'm sure they've planned it out.
Oh, you are saying that Ramadan is still going on through the meet?
Yes. Well, it's at the end of it, right? It's at the end of the meet. It's still Ramadan. That's why I'm in this thing that the team that I'm with starts right after Ramadan. So I have to kind of go back in just at the end, which is the 22nd. So exactly. I mean, I could Google. I did have it in my calendar, but it's one of those that yes, they will be competing through Ramadan.
Yeah,
Or at
being
least the
able to
start of the
handle it
meet as I have
is
it.
one thing, but being in top shape and going to peak performance, that is probably a little bit more difficult when you're under the circumstances. Who knows? We'll find out. Well, let's look at what's happening, behind the medal. We have always this kind of, the medal contenders, and then we have the so-called amateur teams, which are not, some of that is semi-amateur, some whatever. We cannot really define that carefully. The only thing we know is the first 4 teams are surely full-time teams, and whatever comes after that, we don't really know. Maybe we can talk about this, but there will be a competition for the 5th place, probably. What do you say about as it is sorted in this overview there on the leaderboard so far, Kirk?
Yeah, I mean, I only kind of keep up through some of the coaches that are coaching these guys and what I see on Facebook, and I don't see like how much training they're doing, and we know that this really kind of boils down to, when you get into a place with like teams that are all kind of doing the same averages, right? How much training they're doing, it does boil down to how much they're doing, or are they just showing up and you're doing a little bit, and I think that's what it'll boil down to, who's done the most training and who has that hunger to, get themselves up the rankings, you know what I mean? So I do know that, some of those guys that Nicholas was coaching, I think he's got echo chamber, and I know they've been doing some work. So other than that, I don't really know what everybody's been doing training wise.
Yeah, I would guess that is probably the difference between this bunch of 5 teams there right behind the medal contenders and the next bunch of 5 teams for the last top 10. So I guess I would say that the top 5 there, I mean, behind the medal contenders, they're probably all well trained, regularly and well trained. And we don't know much about the teams that come after that. Gary, what do you think?
No, I agree 100% with both of you there. But I mean, I think Meraki is going to do well. I mean, I saw them at the Brit Nationals, and they didn't in December, and they didn't have their best. I think they did a 24 average, but they had done a 25 plus before that. So and they have trained now more. So I think Meraki will be good. I mean, it's Pete Allen and the three ladies. And then what I thought a little bit, but I did go and watch their jumps, and there was a little bit off was the Italians. I thought the Italians might sneak their way into that 5 that you had. But when I watched their jumps, I thought, okay, maybe they're on the edge of the 5. They're definitely a little bit ahead of Out of the Blue. And the Brazilians I haven't seen. Them, but I watched the Italians this morning, in fact. And
Okay.
I was quite impressed with how they flew, but I can understand that they're going to get beat by Meraki. Meraki is just a little bit tunnel stronger. And then, of course, Echo Chamber. The Germans, we know, will do 27, I think 28. But I think that, yeah, like you say, that even Echo Chamber, they should be doing 26, 27, 28. So I think those, whoever wants to come 5th, I think if you can do a 28 average, you've done a good job. You've put yourself into a good fight for 5th. But I also know Andy, who's working with Qatar, has also done some work with Papaya, the Spain, for many, many years, the Spanish guys. But they just need to hold it together. The problem with Spain is they always have a bit of a blowout in 1 or 2 rounds. If they can just keep it together, they fly pretty well. And they have a wind tunnel in their base. So I think the Spanish are in the correct place. But
They have a wind
I
tunnel
just
in their
thought from the
base.
other
I
ones.
didn't know that.
Yeah, I think so. I've never been there, but I've heard the rumor that yes, they have a wind tunnel, or if it's not in their base, it's very close to their base. But I think it's right near. But so the only one I thought was maybe offset was the Italians. I thought Marco with his Italians, with Ariana and Livio, that would be a great group to put in that fight for 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, great. So you know what? This is enough, and I see Kirk nodding his head. He's agreeing with that, obviously.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
I will change that. So that means like, yeah, I will move Fly X. I will move him up. I'll be glad to do that. I get there's some
And then you can tell them I said
yeah.
that. Eh?
Yeah. But that makes it
Oh boy.
so that actually makes it even more challenging for the second bunch
Yeah,
because
put the pressure on the Italians. Tell them that I say they should be there fighting.
they
I'll
want that.
lose my
They
friendship
want
with
that.
Marco.
So that makes it
Yeah,
even
for
more
sure.
interesting because now we have 4 plus 6. I mean, so far it's plus 5, so that makes it 9. So the top 10 spot was open so far. Now you say that goes to Fly X actually. So now we have the top 10
Yeah.
favorites, and now we have 4 remaining teams who want one of the top 10 spots. So they want to beat one of those um, top 10 teams after the
Yeah.
change ranking order. That makes it even more interesting. Who would have the best chances, behind Italy, or the group of 6 teams behind Italy? What do you think, Kirk?
For Italy, you mean? Yeah, with that lineup, that's I didn't realize that's what that was, and they're going to be tough. Yeah, for sure.
Ariana, yeah.
And then of
Sorry,
course
I said
agree with
Libya,
Gary
but
that,
it's
sorry, I
no,
disagree
my
with Gary.
mistake. My mistake. I said it was Livio in the team. It's not Livio. It's Giuseppe. I meant, and I meant so Ariana, Giuseppe, Marco. Sorry, Kirk.
So still a great lineup. Yeah. And then with Meraki, they'll be tough. I did see that score come out of the meet in December, and they're always going to be. They look tunnel savvy.
So who of let's say we have Out of the Blue, Inity, Purple, Maze, Real Fly, Fire. Is there could any of them push somebody out of the top 10, and who would it be? Who could fall out of the top 10? What do you think? And, nobody wants to hurt anybody's feelings, and we are just speculating and talking. So not just paparazzi. We're not going to hurt anybody.
Sure.
But if you would have to, let's say we are at the competition now, and one of the teams behind the top 10 is pushing somebody out of the top 10. Who would it be? Gary, what do you think?
Brazil. I was impressed in Brazil. If it's the same lineup, I'm just checking the photos. But the Brazilians in Charleroi had two teams, and they actually were great flying. So again, like Kirk says, if they've trained, and I'm seeing here on the board a 25 average from the Brazilians, for sure, if they've trained, then you have to say they're in those next five anyway. They're going to be in there fighting. So it's actually going to be, I wouldn't count Brazil out. And then for the rest, Finland is a newish team, although they had a good score together. And I know some of the faces and the photos, the Finnish group. I don't know them well enough to place them, but again, they looked good. Czech, I would say no. Norwegians, I know them. They up and coming. So the Norwegians, I would not put into the next group. But I would say yes. Like with Italy, Brazil would be my next choice out of that group.
All right. Well, if Brazil had
I
a
agree.
change in the lineup too, though, it's not the same team that competed last year, in Charleroi.
Oh, it is. No.
Yes.
So they have a different.
Yeah.
George
Yeah,
Narita
but that's why I'm not sure.
Yeah, but it's this team here. That's a team that who competed in Eloy at the Outdoor World Meet. I think it's the same lineup who were in Eloy for the outdoor meet.
The
So,
same as in Eloy?
yeah, it's
I think so.
I think it's the same lineup, and I don't even know what they how did they do it?
But you have them. They did a 25 average in
Right.
December,
Yeah.
2nd of December. So I mean, if they've been training, it's the same lineup. It's still pretty good, And I think to be pushing for fifth place, you're going to be wanting to do a 28 average. If they're doing a 25 in December, who knows? They should be in that top. The next five, if we call it the second, from fourth or from fifth to 10th,
Yeah,
they could sneak in across that line that you've had.
There's a new change in the lineup actually because Isabella Castro was not in Eloy. So they had a different lineup in Charleroi, then a different lineup in Eloy, and now a different lineup at their own meets, and that's a 25 plus average lineup here with the new member Isabella. That's interesting. I don't, that makes it yeah. So if anybody, then Brazil. And who would they beat in the top 10? Nobody
Well,
knows.
as our coach says, whoever slips, and once everyone's going to be fighting for that fifth, sixth, seventh place,
Right.
and then it's a case of nerves, it's a case of competition pressure. It's not trying to defend anything, but attacking every jump. So I think all the teams, no one's going to be defending. You cannot defend in a tournament, so they have to kind of go and attack because you can lose 3-4 points very, very quickly.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Actually, that would probably make the headline. Did you know that you cannot defend anything?
Yeah.
Something like this will be the headline, probably. But
I just watched the soccer. I just watched a soccer game, Kirk. I watched Arsenal Liverpool. I don't know if you know the football, but Arsenal were 2-0 ahead and they defended and they nearly lost it 2-2. So you cannot defend, man, at the top level.
So absolutely true. I know the Berlin club is doing the same thing all the time. If they score, which never happens anyway, but then they try to defend, the lead, and then So Kirk said that earlier. Kirk mentioned earlier, that each round, has to be winning, the desire for winning it, and that is not defending, of course.
Yeah.
To win each round. Basically.
I think there's definitely from a coaching point of view, you can definitely say to the teams that you're working with, you can definitely say this one we need to pay a little bit more attention. You can red flag certain areas because you know where your own weaknesses are. That this must be built in this shape for us to move on. But it's not slowing things down. It's just double checking that the shape of your 16 is like you want it from the front to the back before you executing it. So that's it. But for the rest, once they move through that door and the time started, there's no second guessing. The eyes should be open at the red flag areas, but they should not be slowing down.
You know what I just remember? I just remember that like about 7 minutes ago, I got a 10-minute warning from the Zoom that the meeting was over. So I guess we better do our bye-byes here quickly now and our greetings, because if not, then they will shut us off and we will think it's a malfunction or whatever. But it was so super interesting, obviously. Anyway, thank you so much. I mean, it was like we talked 5 minutes, and all of a sudden, you know, it's a 40-minute time frame, so we are done. Unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we'll do more. We'll follow up on that, you know, and I will be a little bit early. I'm going to go to Poland. Teams are training there. I'm going to go to Prague. Speed will be there. XPG4 will be there.
Yeah.
So I want to do a little bit more previewing anyway, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again. Talk a little bit more about
Yes,
what
for sure.
the situation is like.
Hey, is the scoring in time? Is it in time scoring there? Do you know?
It must be. It must be. I think it is. Yeah, I cannot imagine.
Yeah.
So we'll get this, you know, and I'll try to keep it up to date as good as possible too, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll use Sky League as well. So.
Okay. Well, again.
Yeah, it's always behind, eh?
That was very
good talking to you, Gary.
Yeah.
Hey, the same, Kirk. Good to see you, man.
Hopefully you get to make it, but either way we'll be following.
Okay.
You know what? I want to say one thing that I always when I thought, oh, I can't make this meet. One of my little things in my imaginations in my head was Kirk Verner always walking around with his stopwatch, and then he'd be sitting watching, and I always made sure I stood near Kirk, because then he would look and I'd look at him and he'd say, tempo. And then you knew for sure.
Yeah, agreeing on score, like maybe there's something in there.
Yeah, it's so funny. You're not
although,
the only one. Those,
if I don't make it,
the French from the Monaco team, his son Tom Martini is saying he is always standing there with a stopwatch too. So
yeah. But with Kirk, I always had a good friendship with that, so it was always good.
Yeah. Great,
absolutely. Yeah, I remember the season at Parakeet. I'm always standing in the corner by the door, and Kirk is left of me, and then I hear, you know, you get score.
Yeah. He's a machine.
Great guys. You guys have a great day.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much. You too.
Thank you, Kirk. Thank you too, man.